Okay, so a couple of things about this lesson here. I'm going to be drawing in a very new and different way from the shaded portraits. There's also some new vocabulary that I talked about yesterday. I'm going to be bringing a lot of those words up literally right now with you all today and kind of explain what they mean. Look at this. We're starting things off with the H pencil. H pencil is my favorite pencil to sketch with when I know I'm going to make it into a pen and ink drawing. Okay? This is because 2B, 4B, 6B, these pencils, they give off a ton of the graphite dust. And then something like this, it has a felt tip. Something like this, it has a ballpoint. At the end, we have another felt here. So if the graphite dust gets up in the felt, the ink does not flow out of the pen the way it's supposed to. That's why the H is the perfect pencil to just kind of sketch things out, but it keeps things light, doesn't smudge quite as much, all that stuff. Gotta put your name on this thing. I think this is one. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We want about 6 different values going on with each of these gradients. So, a couple of vocab words to unpack there. Who could tell me, in your own words, what the word value means when it comes to art? Go ahead, Charles. Okay, cool. Instead of that word color, though, I'm just going to change it to shade. You know how dark or how light the shades are? And then what about this word right here, gradients? Who wants to explain to me what they think gradients means? Dev.
The blend of colors, like the blend of shades.
Nice. Right along with this word gradient, it's all about a gradual change. Take a look at the example here. Things are gradually getting busier, gradually getting darker. So, just going to kind of show you guys how I get started, the different things I'm thinking about. And if you're right-handed, you want to be doing these value scales from light to dark this way. If you're a lefty, then you would flip it. So the weirdest thing about mark making is I'm not really doing too much with the pressure of this stuff. I'm pretty much pulling the line with the same exact pressure the whole time. It's just about the negative space in between the different lines. It's just all about the negative space. So over here in the lightest value, I'm making sure my lines are very far apart. And then as I'm moving from left to right, these lines are going to get gradually closer and closer together. Especially once we get all the way over to number 6, I'm going to make these lines so freaking close together that they're basically touching. Whole bunch of lines. This is very different from the hatching and cross hatching we did with the last value scales. The last value scales are these like really loose, scribbly ones. We're not scribbling the hatch lines with this one. We're literally drawing one line at a time. And then take a look at the screen real quick. At this stage, we have really light values over here, and then it's super dark over here, but I'm really missing out this transition area. So a little trick I like to do to help the gradual shift in values is what we see going on here. Look at the left side of the screen there. I will pull these lines that are about half the size of those lines I just started off with. So, I'll pull some halfway up from the bottom, some halfway down from the top, and then I'll pull, a smaller line that kind of lands right in the middle. So I'll throw some of these smaller hatch lines in the mix, and that will also definitely help with the gradual change in values here. So it's all about the amount of space between the lines, not too much with the pressure. And then as things get closer together, as things get busier, they're going to look darker. Anyway, I'm just going to do a brief explanation for each of these. And then, it's not going to be due until tomorrow, so we got plenty of time to work through this thing. Because as you guys can see, whole bunch of lines going on. Next up, we're moving on to the cross hatching. Starts off the same exact way. Except once we get all the way to that 6th value, I'll just kind of spin the paper a little bit like this, and then double back. Underneath this number 1, when we're in the crosshatch section, it should just be some really large X's. Sort of end up making these like diamond shapes. And then gonna kind of build up the values the same exact way. I'm gonna go back all the way under that number 6, all the way in the darkest area, and I'm just aiming for the gaps. Aiming for the gaps in between the lines. Whole bunch from one direction. Then hit it up from the other direction. Making sure I have a whole bunch of crosshatch lines on the far right. Now I want to take care of this transition area in the middle. Aiming for the gaps, and I'm pulling around these lines that are a little bit shorter, about half the size of those ones I was starting off with. Also right in here, we can do some X's. Just draw some X's, maybe some smaller X's as things are getting darker, and some larger X's where it's lighter. It's all about that gradual change from light to dark. That's how we get things looking a lot less flat and a little more interesting. Now, I'm just letting you guys know right now, this is only like 7 mark making techniques. There's hundreds, thousands of mark making techniques out there. What we're doing with this right here, these X's, you can do that with literally any letter in the alphabet. And then if it's larger, more negative space, it looks lighter, smaller. Okay, so that's just an example. Next up, we're going to be moving on to scribbling. The thing about scribbling is we want the scribbles to look like truly random, okay? Very similar to my advice when I was talking about scribbling here. Don't scribble like this. We just scribble by doing these circles over and over and over again. This is symbolic scribbling. That's not what I'm looking for. Does anyone remember the shape I suggested with the hair to kind of show like a more random one? What do you think of, Jaden A? The star. Yeah, man. Now look at this. On the far left area over here, super light. I'll just kind of do like a really loose sort of star shape just to get a couple scribbly lines going on over there. So light you can barely even see it. And then we could also do some more curly cues, some like loop-de-loops for scribbles. We could also do some plus signs and some X's, and we can do some letters, a couple different letters. But it's all about the size. You know, where I want things to be lighter, I'm drawing it pretty big, and then as I go over to the right side, you know, over here, this is where I'd be doing a bunch of super small stars, small plus signs, letters, things like that. And as long as you're doing a combination of shapes, you know, some angular, like sharp looking shapes, and then also some curvy ones, then it can look random. That's the main idea, is we're trying our best to make it look like random scribbles. We don't want to just get stuck doing like this same shape over and over and over again. So once again, over here on the far right, it's not about pressing down hard, it's just about putting a whole bunch of tiny little scribbles next to each other, and we're getting rid of all that white space, and that's what's making this look darker. So anyway, we have everything kind of planned out with the pencil at this stage. And what we're going to be doing next is upgrading these things to a couple different pens. So the pens I would like for us to try using today is going to be this Bic liner. Bic is the brand. I think I only really have two different brands, just Bic and Sharpie. So we're picking up this Bic liner, and that's what I want you to do for hatching and cross hatching. We're just making notes right now. We're not doing it quite yet, just making some notes. Bic liner. And then for the scribbling, you can try out the Sharpie gel pen. And remember, like I said, the graphite does not mix very well with these brand new pens and markers. So before I start upgrading these things, I'm going to work around with the kneaded eraser, just lighten everything up. We've been doing this all semester. Go ahead and just hit up all the pencil marks with the eraser. We still want to be able to see it. We're just getting rid of that top layer of graphite. So that's all we're doing for the rest of the block today. Just taking the cap off this Bic liner, and then I'm gonna, you know, everywhere that I had that pencil line, I'm just gonna upgrade with the pen. So you